All right, Sam. We're the Warner Brothers.
Yep.
Sam Warner, Mike Warner. We got this huge company. We own tons of media brands like DC Comics, all of the like Marvel, or not Marvel, I can't say Marvel, DC World, the DC Universe. We got Harry Potter. We got HBO and a whole bunch of other random stuff that I don't know about because I don't pay attention. So, and we have two suitors, two companies that want to buy us. We have on the left Netflix, and on the right, coming in at less than Netflix size, Larry Ellison's very own Paramount, Skydance, or whatever they're called. Anyway, so we have two suitors. This is a real thing. It's happening right now. Warner Brothers Discovery is on the sale block. They have two different companies looking to buy them. Netflix and Paramount, they've been going back and forth for like weeks and weeks now. And it looks like they're probably going to go with Netflix. But have they made the right choice? What do you think, Sam?
Timeline, Mike. I think Netflix came in first and they were like, we're going to buy you. Because Warner Brothers, well, you were there in the room. We were like, hey, we're going to sell. We're young and successful, but we're tired. We're done with this WP Enterprise thing. And Netflix was like, awesome, we're going to come buy you. We're going to give you, I think it was $27.75 per share, which would be like an insane amount. I think it was like 70, 80 billion, right?
It was a lot. It's a lot.
And I think what happened after that, shortly after that, was Paramount came in and they were like, hold up, wait up. We want to buy you for more. And they were going to offer $30 per share, all cash, for like $108 billion.
Yep.
So they came in with more cash. I think Larry Ellison even was like, I'm going to personally back this.
Well, he wasn't at first. And part of the negotiation deal that Warner Brothers did, because they actually, Paramount kind of came in like hostile, like kind of injecting themselves into a sale that they weren't invited to. It's like getting to the wedding and there's like another guy there and he's like, hang on, wait.
I object.
You didn't give me a chance.
Who is this guy? Never heard of him.
So part of the whole negotiation deal was, sorry, because I've been like kind of following this for weeks now. Part of the deal was Warner Brothers was their board, or I don't know about their board, I shouldn't say that. Their leadership didn't want to sell to Paramount. They wanted to sell to Netflix. They want to go with Netflix. That was always the original deal. And they were like, we don't want to do this Paramount thing. And so they kept finding reasons not to do it, even though it was going to be more money, which they have to do because they're legally bound to do the decision that is in the best interest of their stockholders. So technically, the Paramount deal is a better deal, at least on paper, for the shareholders. So they were finding reasons to not do it. And they kept bringing up it's a risky deal. And I don't know all the ins and outs of why that was. I didn't understand that nuance. But they basically said, unless Larry Ellison personally signs on this money, we're not doing it. Because I think they were afraid that Paramount was going to fund this with debt. So they were going to go borrow a bunch of money and then pay that to Warner Brothers Discovery to acquire the company. But then that means the new combined company has tons of debt. And so they're like, no, we're not doing that. That's really risky. So, hey, Larry Ellison, who's like the owner, like 2 layers above Paramount, I think, but he owns Paramount. They wanted him and his family to front the cash. And it took like, I think a couple weeks, but they finally got him to like commit. And then they came up with some other excuse that was like, oh, well, that's not enough either. It's still risky. So, because at the end of the day, it's clear leadership at Warner Brothers does not want to sell to Paramount. They want to sell to Netflix. They want that deal with Netflix. I don't know why exactly. There could be something in the fine print of that, of why that makes sense for them, maybe personally or maybe for the company. But I do wonder, like, I look at these two and I go, there's probably a brand thing here, right? Like Paramount has something to offer, but Paramount does not have the brand that Netflix has, at least in my opinion. It doesn't have the reach that Netflix has. It doesn't have the tech appeal that Netflix has. And I do wonder if, like, hey, you know, basically having one of the largest streaming platforms on the planet maybe gives Netflix a little bit of an edge where, like, at a discount, they can offer to buy Warner Brothers at a lower price than even Paramount. And I've heard, actually doing a little research for this, Warner Brothers stock value is now up over $28 per share, which puts them at a loss if they take the Netflix deal for their shareholders, which that might complicate things. But I don't know. What do you think? Like, if we're Warner Brothers, who do we go with?
Well, I think this, like you alluded to, this is like a case of I already made my decision to sell to Netflix, and there was a lot of work that was done even before the announcement, right? And then they've been stressing that in these like talks or whatever they're having of like, hey, we're ready to sign. This deal's ready to go. We've worked everything out. But legally they have to wait until I think a date in January at some point. But it seems like we've already made up our minds. We're not going to change it, even for a couple dollars on the share price. And like you said, they've been kind of like weaving their way in and out of like legally saying why and why it would be in the best interest. I think there is a brand angle here, Mike. And it's not just about, oh, which brand is like better perceived in the public eye? Which brand creates better content? I think it's deeper than that. I think it's actually a cultural thing. I think WB, Warner Bros., is not just looking at a price, and they're not just looking at public perception. I think they're looking at culture fit. I think there's a strategic preference here, and it goes down to kind of the core of the business. It goes down to the leadership. Paramount's CEO is, you know, his future's kind of up in the air. They're two kind of different types of businesses. Paramount has all these different kinds of like legacy media and streaming and cable TV declining, like all these kind of issues that are piling up for Paramount, while Netflix is just streaming. It's just streaming. Like it's very cut and dry, very clear what Netflix is. And so I think there's probably not one reason. I think it's a myriad of issues and reasons. But I think full credit to Netflix. I wasn't in the room. I'm not actually a Warner Bro, Mike. But it seemed like Netflix approached Warner Bros with a very good package. And it wasn't just about the money, Mike. It was, here's everything that we are going to bring to this deal and bring WB into. And it wasn't just about share price, which I think speaks volumes to the Netflix brand.
Yeah, and I think I totally agree. Like everything you just said, the culture fit. I think even just like the vision between Netflix and Paramount is just so different.
Yeah.
I think about Paramount and it's like a lot of what they own is legacy. It is old. It is demographically geared for a different age, right? It's like MTV. Like, what is that? That's not really a forward-focused brand anymore. I'd say probably the only thing on the Paramount side that I can think of that's like that has some potential to be more future-focused is HBO. But even HBO has had tons of issues from a brand perspective. I mean, they can't decide what is their streaming service. Is it HBO? Is it HBO Max? Are they for adults or for the whole family? You know, going and buying Sesame Street, that made no sense to me. I don't understand. I really don't understand what Paramount's overall strategy is and what their vision is. And I think that comes out in their brand. And I think if I was sitting in Warner Brothers' shoes, you know, very blind box here. There's a lot of details we don't know. And I'm just looking at purely like what would benefit my company in the long run. If I'm going to sell and I'm going to basically take on the brand and the vision and the resources of another company to power kind of my vision or the vision that we're trying to create. If I was Warner Brothers, I'd be like, man, Netflix has a future, right? They're very future focused. Everything is new and fresh. They're constantly creating new content. They obviously need the Warner Brothers catalog of content and characters and stories. That's something that Netflix has struggled to do consistently, is build basically, content empires. They're really good at streaming though. And I'm like, man, if I'm Warner Brothers, this just makes total sense to me, where I can get my content out to millions, if not billions of people and stream it in the kind of new world that we live in terms of everything's delivered on demand through a streaming platform. Warner Brothers historically is like, it's a movie company, right? It's content from a movie standpoint. And that's just not how people interact with our content anymore. Like, the world of media is streaming. It is short form. It is series. It is I would even argue to some degree, and this is going to take our conversation even further. I would actually argue, if I was like, look at the landscape, I'd say, who is like best to own Warner Brothers across the board, right? Across all companies, not, looking at Netflix and Paramount, sure, but let's just open it up and say, like, who should own this content? Who would have the best play, the best use of it? I would be looking at companies like Google with YouTube, right? Or I'd be looking at Amazon, who I think have an even further future focus of where content's going to end up. I'm such a huge proponent. I don't know if fan is the right word, because there's things I hate about the culture that it creates around short form content with YouTube. But like, I love the wealth of things you can learn about, ways you can be entertained that are like actually good, not just, junk food type entertainment. Although there's a lot of that on YouTube.
They call that brain rot now, Mike.
Yeah, brain rot. But here's what's interesting. YouTube did not start as a social media company, and yet it is what social media has become, which is short form videos. User-generated short-form video content. And I think that is the future of all content. If you want to entertain people, if you want to inform people, if you want to engage people, some audience somewhere, you have to have short-form video content. And I think it is that, at least right now, in our day and age, I think it's that 10 to 20 minute slot. It's not, there's a lot of this like really short, 10 second, 30 second stuff. I question whether there's a lot of actual like retention and understanding in that. I question whether brands get value from that content when they create it, because I don't think it's memorable. I don't think people remember that stuff. I think it's like 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 10 seconds. I don't remember anything I just saw, right? But when I watch like a 10-minute YouTube video that's actually very informative or very interesting or very entertaining, I want to come back. And I even think about like how I've started to stream even TV shows, right? Like there's a show, it's not for everybody, but it's a reality game show, comedy show out of Great Britain called Taskmaster. And they have shown the series on, actual television, and then ported everything over to YouTube. My wife and I watch all of it on YouTube, right? And we just engage with it there, because that's where we engage with a lot of other stuff, and it's really accessible and easy to find. So all that to say, Netflix, I think, is much closer to that world than Paramount is. I think Paramount has a streaming platform besides HBO.
Paramount Plus,
which, oh man. Anyway, and they're working on it, and they're getting users. Okay, that's fine, whatever. But when I think about culture of companies, I'm like, man, Netflix just so much more future focused. I don't love everything Netflix does, so I'm not personally selling anything to Netflix, which is great. I actually got rid of Netflix like 3 years ago.
Me too.
I'm not on the Netflix bandwagon, but I get where they're going, and generally I'm like, yeah, I get it. That makes sense.
Okay, Mike, I have a higher level question for you. Who is the real winner and the real loser in this scenario? And I think I have my answer, and I'm going to say it, and then I'll let you react to it.
Yeah, you do.
Netflix is the winner.
Mm-hmm.
They get over 100 years of IP and recognizable characters and stories and all these things. I think Warner Brothers is the actual loser here. They have ceased to exist, or they have ceased to have the ability to exist as its own entity. And you think back 20, 30 years, the Warner Brothers companies of the world made really good money just creating things and then distributing it out to theaters and, Blu-ray and whatever, all that stuff. That doesn't happen anymore, at least not sustainably. And you're seeing now this really like generational power shift where this new model of like the power is held by the platform owners. Netflix is a platform. They also create, but really the most
really they're a platform. I mean, that's
they're the platform.
That's their cost center too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So react to that.
Great take. I agree with the winner. It's Netflix. The real loser. Yeah, I think a pure brand play. Obviously, the brand that disappears is the real loser. It's like Warner Brothers can't exist in the current world. That's okay. You lost, right? Their content will continue to live on. It is interesting to me that a lot of Warner Brothers content is not original anymore. It's all like other people's ideas that they go get the licensing rights. And really, it's like, again, they're a movie company. And I just don't think movies are, yes, people still watch them. They will stream them. I think it'll always be like a media type. But I don't think it's what people gravitate to, other than like on an airplane when it's like, I have 2 hours. I'm going to have to watch something for 2 hours. I guess I'll pick something that fills my 2 hours and will finish at the end of my 2 hours. Or before we land at least. But like, I don't know if like movies are this like overwhelmingly like cultural standard for media anymore. It's not a media type that I think most people are gravitating to anymore. And I know it goes back and forth. It's like every 5 years that kind of shifts a little bit, but it tells me that Warner Brothers is from a different age. It's built for a different time. They never got a streaming platform up and running that really had legs. And so I think they missed it, right? And there's some sense where like if you were an old school distributor in any kind of media, whether it was music, entertainment, TV, like cable, right? Like cable companies are really on the downswing because that's not a distribution platform that meets our current world anymore. Our current world is all online. It's all streaming when it comes to content. So if you don't own a platform that's online, you just don't have a reason to exist anymore. This goes all the way back to like Blockbuster, right? Blockbuster died for a lot of reasons, not just because they didn't have a streaming platform, but it didn't help them at all. And they got beat by another provider who said, first, we will distribute via mail, which was like the first loss. Blockbuster could have done that in a heartbeat, and they never did it. And then Netflix knew the real answer, which is the mail is just a stepping stone to get us to streaming. And that's where we're at now. I'll be curious to see kind of long term. I know Netflix has its own issues. I think Paramount's like second loser on all this. Like they desperately need content. Like
this was a desperation play for sure.
This is a total and when you see the price value of like, oh wow, they're willing to go like extra price premium. Now I'm reading like Larry Ellison is willing. He's at least somewhere stated like this isn't our final answer, even though it was stated as their final answer on their price offer. It's like, oh my goodness, they're desperate. Like they want this so bad. Yeah. And it's because they're hurting. Like they don't really know who they are. I would put it as bluntly as that. I don't think Paramount knows who they are anymore.
Right.
And so they're just scrambling, just trying to buy stuff up. Maybe it's like too big to fail kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
And obviously the licensing that Warner Brothers has there's some awesome licensing they have, right?
Yeah.
So anybody would probably be very lucky, or they should feel good if they've got that content.
Yeah.
Here's who I think the other loser might be. I hate to say this, is people who love all of that content. So far, I have yet to see a major streaming platform do really well with legacy media brands like Harry Potter, or you think about like what has Amazon done with Lord of the Rings, or
Disney
done with Star Wars and Marvel.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not seeing that these streaming platform first distribution platforms make storytelling the most important thing.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see what happens in the long run with that. I really wonder if there is a disconnect that these tech first companies don't know how to do story. And it's not embedded in them. It's hilarious to me that Disney can't tell stories anymore, because I'm like, they're the original storytelling company. They were brilliant at it for so many years, and they just can't do it anymore. Yeah. And maybe that's a cultural comment. Maybe we as a civilization have lost the ability to tell stories.
I think it's a great segue into a future video about streaming wars, Mike.
I love it. Let's do it.